The UN Secretary-General's visit to the Rohingya camps in Bangladesh. Where do people go when the world has no place for them? The question seemed to hang in the air, unspoken yet ever-present in the narrow alleyways of Cox's Bazar, the world's largest refugee camp. The Rohingya people, over 1 million stateless individuals, had fled genocide in Myanmar, seeking refuge in Bangladesh. Today, the world had come to see them. United Nations Secretary-General António Guterres, alongside other high-ranking officials, arrived in the camp to assess the humanitarian situation and advocate for global action. But would the visit bring real change? Or would it be another moment of sympathy that faded with the next news cycle? The Rohingya crisis. A background. The Rohingya, a predominantly Muslim ethnic minority, have lived in Myanmar for centuries. However, the Myanmar government denies them citizenship, rendering them stateless. In August 2017, the Myanmar military launched a brutal crackdown, killing thousands and forcing over 700,000 Rohingya to flee to Bangladesh in what the UN has called a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Now, 5 years later, over 1 million refugees remain in Kutupalong and Nyapra camps in Bangladesh, living in overcrowded conditions with limited access to food, clean water, and medical care. Despite international condemnation, Myanmar has yet to ensure safe repatriation, and Bangladesh, struggling with the economic burden, has expressed concerns over hosting the refugees indefinitely. It was in this tense reality that the UN Secretary-General arrived. The arrival, hope and uncertainty. As the UN convoy of black SUVs approached the camp, security was tight. Armed Bangladeshi forces lined the dirt roads, ensuring the safety of the international delegation. Guterres stepped out, accompanied by Filippo Grandi, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, and Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Cameras flashed as they walked through the narrow, muddy pathways lined with bamboo and plastic shelters. "Welcome to our home," said a young Rohingya man, his voice laced with irony. The Secretary-General stopped to speak with community leaders. "What do you need most?" he asked. "Justice," one elder replied. The UN delegation listened as refugees recounted the horrors they had fled: villages burned, women assaulted, families torn apart. Some still held out hope for repatriation, but only if their safety and rights could be guaranteed. Others feared that returning to Myanmar meant walking back into persecution or death. The harsh reality. Conditions in the camps. The camps in Cox's Bazar are staggeringly overcrowded, with families crammed into flimsy shelters. 1. Food rations have been cut, with refugees receiving less than $10 per month in food aid due to global funding shortages. 2. Healthcare is minimal, and diseases like cholera and respiratory infections spread rapidly. 3. Monsoon rains and landslides threaten to wash away entire sections of the camp. 4. Over 50% of the refugees are children, many without access to formal education. "The world talks about us," said Rahima, a mother holding her infant daughter. But nothing changes. UN agencies, including UNHCR, WF0P, World Food Programme, and UNICEF, have been providing aid, but funding shortfalls have severely limited their reach. The UN delegation saw it firsthand. The reality was worse than statistics could convey. Bangladesh's dilemma. How much longer? Bangladesh has shown immense generosity by hosting the Rohingya, but tensions are rising. The government has repeatedly stated that the refugees cannot stay permanently, pushing for a repatriation plan with Myanmar. However, the proposed returns have failed twice due to Rohingya fears of renewed persecution and Myanmar's lack of guarantees. Bangladesh has also begun relocating refugees to Bazan Char, a remote island in the Bay of Bengal, to ease overcrowding. While the government insists it is safe, human rights organizations have raised concerns about the island's flood risks and lack of services. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina did not mince words. "We cannot do this alone. The international community must take responsibility." Guterres acknowledged Bangladesh's burden and called for greater global support and diplomatic pressure on Myanmar. The world speaks, but will it act? At the camp, Guterres addressed a gathering of thousands. The Rohingya people are not forgotten. Their suffering is not invisible. The United Nations will continue to fight for justice, for safety, for dignity. His words were met with hopeful yet weary applause. The reality is that international pledges often fall short. The $877 million humanitarian appeal for the Rohingya crisis remains underfunded, and political action on Myanmar has been slow and ineffective. The Secretary-General promised to raise these issues at the UN General Assembly. But would world leaders listen? The final moments, a question unanswered. As the UN convoy prepared to leave, a small boy named Junaid ran up to Guterres. "Will you come back?" he asked. The Secretary-General bent down, looking him in the eyes. "We will not stop fighting for you." The boy smiled. It was not the smile of someone who believed in miracles, but of someone who had no choice but to hope. As the vehicles disappeared down the dusty road, the Rohingya were left with the same question that had haunted them for years. When will the world's promises turn into action? What comes next? The Rohingya crisis is a test of the world's conscience. Will Myanmar be held accountable for genocide? Will Bangladesh receive more global support? Will the Rohingya finally have a home? The answers remain uncertain. But one thing is clear: history is watching. Support the Rohingya crisis. Donate to UNHCR, WFP, or UNICEF to help provide food, shelter, and education. Stay informed and pressure world leaders to act. Share this story, because silence is complicity. The Rohingya are still waiting. Will the world respond? Stay informed. Stay engaged. Stay curious. The world is changing faster than ever, and the stories that shape our future deserve to be heard. Subscribe to Curiousphere for in-depth analysis, compelling narratives, and fact-based insights into global affairs. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Like, comment, and share to spark discussions that matter. Join the conversation. Your voice makes a difference. Together, let's uncover the truth, challenge perspectives, and keep curiosity alive. #StayCurious #Curiousphere